بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم الحمد لله والصلاة والسلام على رسول الله.
When is Aisha next week? So next week. Half past.
Right, start from the beginning please, chapter number 4. Is it 4 years?
No. Lesson 10, 20th Dhul Hijjah, 1437, 21st September 2016. Chapter 4, Fear of Shirk.
Fear of Shirk. This is the chapter that we're going to be discussing. First of all, we have said the last time that the Shaykh, may Allah have mercy upon him, he had put this chapter after he had talked about the implementation of Tawheed and what the Tawheed does to the person. Then now he's talking about the Shirk, and he started with the word fear, and he did not stay abandoning the Shirk. And the fear is much more of an impact than the word that is to abandon. So fear of the Shirk is like you are fearing of the Shirk more than abandoning the Shirk, because when you fear, that means you have to be on watch, on alert. And the Shirk here, does it mean the Shaykh Rahimahullah, he means the Shirk, all the Shirk, major and minor, or does he just mean the major? Looking at the chapter, in the entirety of this chapter, we will see that he meant both, that is major and minor. And what is the difference between the major and the minor? We said the major, the Shirk, is the one that makes you make a rival with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And the minor, whatever leads to the major, but is not major itself. So the minor, for example, the Shirk is when you go in extreme in praising the Salihin, the righteous one. From the minor is the Riya. And the Riya here, whether it is to make people to see you or to make people to hear about your ibadah. It doesn't mean that you have to see you. It could be that just the people make to hear about your ibadah or to know about your ibadah. So that is called the Shirk al-Asghar. Start.
Allah says, this is in Surah An-Nisa verse 116, translation of the meaning, verily Allah forgives not that partners should be set up with Him, but He forgives what is lesser than that to whomever He wills.
Right, this ayah is what he had started with. It indicates that the author, he is inclined to say the word when he said Allah does not forgive for the person to commit shirk with him. That means shirk what? Because we started from the beginning, the title means what? Akbar and Asghar. We said the title is meant what? Both. So if he started with this word, it means as well both, even though the explanation of this word regarding the book itself, so some of the scholars who explain the book, some of them they say call this for Akbar, some of them say this is Akbar and Asghar. But looking at this and studying in deep, you could say that when the Imam had started with the word Shirk, he meant the Shirk, all of it. Akbar and Asghar, because later on he mentions the Riya, which is Shirk Asghar, minor Shirk. So if it is the case, then this word, verily, Allah does not forgive the person who makes Shirk. The Shaykh, the author, he means Asghar and Akbar, minor and major. And we will say that we have mentioned before, the Shaykh al-Islam ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he has differed regarding this issue. Once he said that it includes Shirk al-Asghar and Akbar, he will not be forgiven. And once he said it is only what? The Akbar. And for a long time, myself, I'm inclined to say that the shuyukh or the scholars who says that it is only the Akbar, that was my opinion. But reading and having more reading for this, I have actually followed the scholars, not the Shaykh al-Albani. Shaykh al-Albani, he says that is Shirk al-Akbar. The ones who says is actually Asghar and Akbar. The reason behind this, first of all, let me just explain to you when Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala does not forgive the Shirk al-Asghar. When you say he does not forgive the Shirk al-Asghar, it doesn't mean that you are a kafir. So if the person did Riya, Shirk Asghar, it doesn't mean that you are a kafir. Does not forgive here, it means that it will not be forgiven in the resurrection. It doesn't mean that you're going to go to the hellfire, but you will be punished for that. Allah will not forgive it. Either He will say to you, go to the person whom you have been doing shirk to him, as in the hadith. Because there's a hadith of the Prophet ﷺ when he says that the records are 3. One record which says Allah will not forgive it whatsoever. The second record is that it's under the will. And the third record is the one that Allah does not bother about it. So if you look at these 3 records, this hadith is for the Muslims. And if it is for the Muslims, then the first record which says Allah does not forgive it, it means what? Major and minor. That's the one that made me actually think about that hadith properly. And I'm inclined at the moment to say that this word means Shirk Akbar and Asghar. So it means that the Asghar will not be forgiven, but it doesn't mean that number one, you're going to go to the hellfire. It doesn't mean that you're going to be outside the fold of Islam. And also, it means that the Shirk al-Asghar, you will be punished for it, whether it's going to be deduction from your hasanat, or it's going to be increase in your sayyi'at, or would be for Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would talk to you and say to you, go to such and such person who you have made Riya to him, showing off. So all of that as a punishment. So Allah does not forgive the minor shirk. The major shirk, it will make you to stay in the hellfire forever. So here, the word shirk here, it means shirk akbar and asghar. And when he says here, وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ لِمَن يَشَاءُ, and he forgives whatever he wishes, whatever he wills, that is anything but minor or major shirk. Is the minor kufr included? Is the minor kufr here is not forgiven? That's another discussion. Is the minor kufr, because there's a difference between minor shirk and minor kufr. The minor shirk is shirk, you associate. But the minor kufr, like when a person approaches his wife from the back, he penetrates from the back. And that is the Prophet said it's kufr. And it's called kufr asghar, it's not kufr akbar. So is this kufr asghar also is included in the word shirk, or is it included in the what Allah forgives, what is below that? And the correct opinion, it is actually included in it is below that. That means it will be under the mashia of Allah, either He will forgive it or He will punish it. So after this, as a conclusion, we say Shirk al-Akbar and Shirk al-Asghar, they are not under the mashia. They will not be what? Forgiven. Shirk al-Asghar, it will not take you outside the fold of Islam. You will be punished for it. It doesn't mean you're going to go to the hellfire. But whatever is underneath it, whatever is not the Shirk al-Akbar or al-Asghar, it will be under the mashia. Either Allah will forgive it or Allah will punish, but if He punishes, then you will be later on sent to paradise. So the Kufr al-Asghar is not the Shirk al-Asghar. Kufr al-Asghar, the minor Kufr, is included in the mashia, so it's under the mashia by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala as well, forgiven. Now, does the jahl, the person when he is ignorant, does shirk when he is ignorant, whether it's major or minor, does the jahl, the ignorance, gives him an excuse? The correct opinion, yes, it will give him an excuse because of 2 hadiths. One of the companions who had prostrated to the Prophet sallallahu alaihi wasallam, and the other, which is the man who had gathered his sons and told them to burn him, and he had said the word, if Allah was capable of gathering me, okay, Allah would have burned me, or Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would punish me a punishment that He hasn't punished people before or after. And He done that, you could say the doubting of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, which is a major shirk. And yet He done it because of what? Because of his jahl, of his ignorance. He's ignorant. Not because of fear, because of ignorance. Ignorant with fear, because he was ignorant. If he knew that was his major kufr, would he do it? No, he will not do it. He didn't know. He's trying to run away from the punishment of Allah. Jazakallahu khairan, uncle, for the tea, mashallah. Very nice tea, mashallah. Barakallahu feekum. Right. then alhamdulillah, that is done, is very good. Right, go ahead.
Allah says that Ibrahim a.s. said, and keep me and my sons away from worshipping idols. Chapter 14, verse 35.
Right. So he said Al-Khalil, alayhi salam, he did not say the ayah. Usually he says the ayah, the verse. The reason behind this, the Imam Hamad Suhaib rahimahullah, he says the ayah, if he had quoted the ayah in totality, but he had put here as a quotation from the ayah, because the ayah is not complete. So the ayah is not complete. So he had mentioned وَقَالَ al-Khalil. He did not say the ayah, the verse. And as I said, if he wanted, that's why he wants to make the chapter as for memorization, memorizing, quoting. But in the first one he said the ayah. He quoted the whole ayah. إِنَّ اللَّهَ لَا يَغْفِرُ أَن يُشْرَكَ بِهِ. And he said Al-Khalil. Al-Khalil Ibrahim alayhi salam. And the Khalil of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is Ibrahim and Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, because the Prophet sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, he said, Allah took me as a Khalil, just like he took Ibrahim, Khalil. And if I want to take any person as a Khalil, I would have taken, but Allah took me as a Khalil. Can we say that my Khalil, Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alayhi wa sallam, said so and so? Yes, Anfal? Can you say that? My Khalil, Prophet Muhammad said so and so. Can you say that? You can. Very good. You can. What was the reason? What was the proof? Without. Brother radiallahu anhu said, قال خليلي, أوصاني خليلي. Okay? So you no problem for a person to take the Prophet of Allah as a Khalil, but the Prophet of Allah can't take a Khalil, because Allah took him as the Khalil. So the Prophet and the prayer, inshallah.
It is said that what is meant by his sons is from his loins, and we do not know from his loins other than Ismail and Ishaq alayhim salam. And it is said what is meant is descendants and what comes from his loins, and this is the preponderant view, and that is due to the invocation for mankind from his descendants. But from the wisdom of Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is that his invocation will not be answered concerning some of them.
Right. Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim, alhamdulillah, wa salatu wa salamu ala rasulillah. Now the explanation of Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen regarding that verse, which is in Surah Ibrahim, وَجُلُونِي وَبَنِيَ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ. O Lord, make me and my Bani. Bani here, it meant not only his son Ismail or his son Ishaq, but actually all the descendants and offsprings of those. So, and that is why the author, the one who makes the explanation, Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, he says, it is from the wisdom of Allah that his call will not be fulfilled in totality, because not all the offsprings of Ibrahim alayhi salam were muwahhidun. Some of them, they were polytheists, and the ones who are, for example, the father of the Prophet of Allah, Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam, Abdullah, he was a mushrik, and he's from the descendants of Ibrahim alayhi salam. So from the wisdom of Allah that not all his supplication being fulfilled. So he says, Rabbi junubni وَجُنُبْنِي وَبَنِيَ أَن نَعْبُدَ الْأَصْنَامِ. O Lord, make me to avoid my children, all his offsprings. Yes, Ismail and Ishaq, and also from the sons of Ishaq, Yaqub alayhi salam and Yusuf. All of them, they were not, they were mushrik, they were prophets. But some, later on, they will become mushrik from the offsprings of those prophets. And also, here, the one who explained the explanator, which is Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, he says that even the Prophet ﷺ, he himself made a supplication, and not all his supplication was fulfilled. Like, for example, he said, "Oh Lord, don't make the bats," that means the fight and the fitna between my ummah, and Allah Azza wa Jalla did not respond to that. And the Prophet ﷺ, he said, Allah Azza wa Jalla did not respond for that call, and that's why we find that the fitna and the tribulations between the members of this ummah. Now,
the support for this chapter from this verse is that Ibrahim a.s. feared shirk, whilst he is the leader of the Hunafa, those who worship Allah alone and do not associate any partner with him. So if he feared it, what about others who are less than him?
Right. So this is why the Imam Muhammad Wahab, he calls it al-mas'ala al-azima, the great matter, great issue. In his matters later on, he said the great issue. Why? Because if Ibrahim alayhi salam, the muwahhid, the prophet, he is the one who is fearing for himself to be a mushrik. So what should we do ourselves? He's the one who says, Rabbi, junubni, or wajnubni, or Lord, make me avoid. So if he's talking about himself, Ibrahim, and he's fearing the shirk, so what about us? And that is why we find all the time people who are pious, they are in fear of falling short or doing something wrong. None of them would say, I have guaranteed paradise. I have guaranteed the Firdaus al-A'la. Even the Prophet himself, sallallahu alaihi wasallam, he said that my deeds will not make me into paradise until Allah bestows upon me His mercy. I will not enter paradise. So, the Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu, warḍah, this is going to be talking about. Yeah, go ahead.
The Prophet ﷺ said, the things that I fear most for you is the minor shirk. And he ﷺ was asked about it and said, Riya, showing off.
Are you talking about, no, I'm talking about footnotes. Have you finished the footnotes?
Yeah, that is finished, and then next one's footnote.
Okay, so let me just finish the footnotes, which is the correct. Okay. So as I said, do not feel secure against shirk. For verily, the companions were so in fear of the nifaq and the hypocrisy and the shirk. Umar al-Khattab radiallahu anhu warḍah, he asked Hudayfa ibn al-Yaman, the one who was the holder of the secret of the Prophet of Allah, he says, is my name amongst the list of the hypocrites? Because the Prophet of Allah, he had given the hypocrites' names to Hudayfa. So he asked Hudayfa, and he's Umar, not anybody else. Umar al-Khattab is asking, am I in the list or am I not? So if Umar al-Khattab is asking, so who about us? And he said to him, I beseech you by Allah, did the Prophet of Allah name me amongst those hypocrites? Hudayfa, he said, no, but I will not give any tazkiyah to anyone else after you. That means I will not say anybody else is not from the munafiqeen or is not amongst the people whom the Prophet of Allah named. So I'm not going to give that tazkiyah. But for you, yes. And Umar al-Khattab, he did not want, for example, to give an encouragement to the companions to fear the nifaq and the hypocrisy. No, he's fearing for himself. So the Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen, he says that always we treat the matter as it is. So when we, for example, the Prophet ﷺ is asking for forgiveness, you don't say, oh, well, Prophet of Allah is actually teaching us. He's not asking for forgiveness because it's already, he knows he's in Jannah. We don't say that. We say that Allah's Messenger asking for forgiveness because he said, Inni atubu fil yawmi mi'ata marra. I can just ask brother to come forward, please. Come forward, please, ya Ikhwan. Don't sit at the right. One number for the shaitan. Don't, he said, the Prophet ﷺ, he said, that is, or I repent to Allah in the day 100 times. But here the Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah brings something, and I will not elaborate as well for those people who got the book. He says, so, like for example, when he made jahar of the dhikr after the faridah. He made jahar of the dhikr after the faridah. Because Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen and the ones who are from the Najd, they hold the opinion that as soon as the prayer finishes, you'll find the raising of the voice. A lot of voice, a lot of noise. They say that the Shaykh, he says here, is using this as a proof to say, so the Prophet of Allah made jahar after the prayer, so we can't just say it because he wants to teach the sunnah. You see, that would be the case if the Prophet of Allah kept making jahar all the time after the prayer. For verily, we know for a fact, the Prophet of Allah, at the end, he did not. So at the beginning there was raising of the voice, but later on there was not. If it was the case all the time, yes. Just like, for example, in the obligatory prayer, the Prophet of Allah raised up his voice sometimes in the obligatory silent prayer, Dhuhr, Asr. Why? Because we know he wants to teach the companions what he's reciting, what surah is reciting. So we can't say, oh, this is the sunnah to recite loudly, okay, in the prayer of the obligatory, which is the silent one. We don't say that. Even we don't say occasionally, we should really raise up our voice in the silent prayer. That's not right. Prophet will have done that deliberately to teach them what he is reciting. None of the companions, they started doing this on their own, and they started in the silent prayer, raising up their voices and going down because they think this is the sunnah. So we know for a fact that the Prophet of Allah raised up his voice in the dhikr after the salah. That is at the beginning, and then later on he told the companions, when he saw them reciting against each other, he had called the Quran as a harm. He said, don't recite louder on the brothers next to you. Don't none of you to recite louder than the other regarding the Quran. So the Quran here is becoming like a noise. You can't use it like this to raise up your voice. And that is why we say to the brothers, be careful when you are reciting your silent prayer or your tasbih and your adhkar in the prayer, Subhanallah Rabbil Azim. Don't make them loud, because the person next to you can't do the tasbih. He cannot. He's either going to follow you or he's going to raise up his voice more than you. One of the two. So don't say, Subhanallah. Why are you doing this? It's annoying. It does annoy the person even next to you. Now,
the Prophet ﷺ said, the thing that...
Hang on. From this, we could see, before the hadith, sorry about that, we could see that the ayah, first ayah, links to the title, that is fear of the shirk. The same thing as well, the hadith links to the title, the fear of the shirk. Now,
the Prophet ﷺ said, the thing that I fear most for you is the minor shirk. And he ﷺ was asked about it and said, Riya, showing off.
Right.
He's saying the thing that I fear most for you.
Really say the footnote or not footnote? I don't understand. Okay. So this is the matan. You just read now from the top. Yeah. So say to me footnotes, because I want to know who's saying it.
Footnote. He ﷺ saying, the thing that I fear most for you, those being addressed are the Muslims for whom he fears minor shirk and not all of mankind. Because the love of being praised enters into a person's heart without them perceiving it, due to it being hidden, and the soul hopes for it. So indeed, most of the souls love to be praised for their worship of Allah. Is it possible that it can reach the level of major shirk? What is apparent from the hadith is that it is not possible, because he ﷺ said minor shirk. Then he was asked concerning it and he said showing off. But in the words of Ibn al-Qayyim rahimahullah, he mentioned minor shirk, saying like a small amount of showing off, Riya. So this is the evidence that large amount of it is not from minor shirk. So if he meant due to the amount, then yes. Because if he was seeking to be seen in every action, this would make him a polytheist guilty of major shirk due to the removal of presence of sincerity in his actions. And most of them do not believe in Allah except they commit shirk. Chapter 12 verse 106. In this is evidence that a person can have faith and shirk within them. But this does not mean major shirk, as this cannot combine together with faith. Rather, what is meant here is the minor shirk, and this is a matter that is well known.
Right. The author, he had brought this hadith and then he had linked it to 4 matters later on, 4 issues. So he links this hadith and he implement on it 4 matters. So this is a hadith which took about 2/3 of the chapter in terms of explanation. This hadith, which is أَخْوَفُ مَا أَخَافُ عَلَيْكُمْ, the most thing that I fear upon you. The most thing I fear upon you, that means upon you, O Muslims, upon you, you righteous. The most thing I fear upon you is, and then he says, الشرك الأصغر, the minor shirk, because the shirk al-akbar, usually it is the case, the righteous people, the Muslims, they will not go and make rivals with Allah and prostrate to other than Allah and call upon other than Allah. They will not do that. But they will do the minor shirk. So they've asked, the companions have asked. what is the Shirk al-Asghar? He said, Riya. Riya here, that is to worship Allah so that the people can see us. It's really because it does disturb. Riya is to worship Allah so that people can see and people can praise you, because you are a worshipper. And as I said, it doesn't mean just Riya to see, it could be as well to hear. You want people to hear about your ibadah. But if the person, he did his ibadah in order that the people would follow and the people would emulate and learn, there's no problem about that. So you did something. So for example, you pulled some money to give to the charity and you do it openly, and your heart is clean from the Riya. Basically you want to encourage others to do the same and pay money. That's alhamdulillah, that's good. So the Riya is in the heart. We can't see it. It's in the person's heart. He knows what he's doing. And this will go against his sincerity. And that is why we said that Riya is not going to be forgiven, because the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he says that Allah would say on the day of resurrection, when he starts to account for the people and they the reckoning, he would say to those people who make Riya, idhabu, go to the ones you have been making Riya to in the dunya, and let's see if they're going to give you anything. And they're going to recompense you. They're going to reward you for what you have done, because you've been doing this ibadah for them. And remember those three people whom Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala would set the blaze of the fire, ignite the fire with them. They were Muslims, before kuffar, before anybody. They're Muslims. Number one is the one who has done the recitation of the Quran. Another one, he's the one who has the sadaqah, paid money. The third one who made jihad. All of them, they did not do that for the sake of Allah. Number one, he recited because he wanted to be called reciter. Second one, he made his charity so that people would say he's generous. Third one, he made jihad to be called a hero. And they would be brought by Allah. And Allah would ask them. Now according to the deed which is being recorded by the angels, they were doing very well. He's doing jihad. So the angel who is writing the deeds, which is the right one, he's writing, mashallah, jihad and writing recitation of the Quran, he's writing for that third person, he's giving charity, but he doesn't know about what? The heart. It's only Allah. Allah will expose your heart. You've done this because of that. Done this. And those three, they deserve to be what? Tolerated. This is one of the proofs that made me to say that Shirk al-Asghar is what? Is unforgivable. Do you understand me? Now those people, they deserve to be what? Pardoned. It's only that need that made it to go to what? To the hellfire. And remember here, they were making the ibadah for Allah. Because if they were making the ibadah for not Allah, they are kuffar. Do you understand what I'm saying? So if they're making this ibadah totally to other than Allah, then kuffar they are. It's not Riya. Talking about he's looking for Allah, but at the same time he wants a share from the praise. People to praise him. You are a good person. You are a mashallah generous. You are a hero. And at the same time, he's doing it for the sake of Allah. That's the one whom Allah will not forgive. And that is why I said this is from the proof to say the Shirk al-Asghar is not under the Mashiach. He's not going to be tolerated. But as I said, some of them they're going to be having decreased. Some of them are going to be sent to the fire. Some of them are going to be having their hasanat to be decreased, or sayyat will be increased, or for example, they will be punished with the resurrection, go to the people who are going to be giving you recompense or not. So all of that will be a punish. So it will not be forgiven. And the Riya, the one which is not the Shirk al-Akbar, the Shirk al-Asghar, is all of it Shirk al-Asghar. But Ibn al-Qayyim, he mentions Yasir Riya. Some of the scholars have followed the same thing. Ash-Shawkani and Imam Shaykh al-Albani, all of them. They said Yasir Riya. What is that? Little Riya. I mean, the little Riya is Shirk al-Asghar. It implements that Riya too much is what? Shirk Akbar. But we don't have a proof to say that. But we say shirk definitely, when it is too much Riya, it cannot be Shirk Asghar. But we can't say Shirk Akbar. It is like, if you do every single ibadah, you're seeking Allah's pleasure plus people, Allah's pleasure plus people, then there must be something here wrong. Do you understand me? But I am hesitant to say Shirk Akbar because there is no proof. Because the Riya is Shirk Asghar. Shaykh Ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah is inclined to say that is the following. If you do a lot of shirk riya in every single ibadah, that is riya, shirk asghar, shirk asghar, then there will be major shirk. But if you have changed your riya, or changed it, for example, it's not to do with the quantity, to do with the quality, the how. So for example, you've done the shirk part of your ibadah, and some of it, all of your ibadah, some of it at the beginning of your ibadah. Do you understand that? And now, does that shirk riya invalidate your deed or not? I'm not talking about now shirk asghar or shirk akbar. I'm talking about does it invalidate your ibadah? So let's say for a person, he started his prayer, Allahu Akbar, from the beginning he wants the people's pleasure. And Allah's sake. So he said, Allahu Akbar. And he kept it until the end. That ibadah is what? Invalid. Now the invalidation is not for the sake of the prayer if you do it again. Invalidation that the prayer will not be well accepted. Do you understand that? The prayer will not be accepted. Because you've done your ibadah, you have done the shirk in this from the beginning to the end. So it became in the origin of the ibadah. So you've done this for the riya. And Allah's messenger, he said in the hadith al-Qudsi, Allah's subhanahu wa ta'ala said, Ana aghna shuraka an shirk. I am the most sufficient that is to make you make shirk with me. He who does shirk with me, then I will lead him and his shirk. But if this shirk came to your ibadah, so you started your ibadah, and while you were in ibadah, okay, the shirk came, so the riya came, started to thinking now to make the people to see people close by, you wanted to stay now, make a prolonged ruku, a prolonged sujood, so on and so forth like that. Then, if you have pushed it away, no problem. So if you just came to you and you said, you didn't say it, but you just expelled it from your mind, it does not affect your ibadah. That's Salih al-Iman. MashaAllah, you are a good believer, you're trying to kick away all the shaitan is throwing onto you. Because the person, he likes to show off, isn't it? When the person prays and somebody approaches, it's a natural thing. You try to beautify. And that is why the best of the prayers, where is it? Where people can't see you. Except for the duties in Jama'ah. So, the best of the prayers, that is to pray at home. Nobody can see you. On your room. That's where you pray properly. That's where you either fast or slow will show. Okay? So put a CCTV camera of yourself. Pray and then watch yourself. Play the recording. Am I praying? Am I praying in front of the people or not? So if you're doing my extra and the people, showing off for. And we have to really account for ourselves. Everybody. Sheikh or not sheikh. Scholar or not scholar. You have to account yourself. Just sit down and remind yourself. Am I doing this for the sake of Allah? Or there's something extra I'm doing for the people because of, أخوف ما أخاف عليكم. The most thing I fear upon you. Prophet says, أخوف ما أخاف عليكم. عليكم who's عليكم? The kuffar? No. And the normal Muslims? No. عليكم, you Sahaba. Companions themselves. Shirk al-Asghar. The person starts beautifying his prayer because of somebody approaching, somebody seeing, somebody looking, somebody. Okay? You could put something there. It's close. Jazakallah khair. Read. Alhamdulillah. If this shirk kept on with you, so you started your ibadah for the sake of Allah, and the shirk kept on with you, then this will invalidate. Does not invalidate all the ibadah or part of the ibadah. That depends. If this ibadah, the end of it depends upon the beginning of it, and the beginning depends upon the end of it, then the whole ibadah will be corrupted. But if it is separated ibadah, I'll give you an example. Say for example, a person, he started his takbirat al-ihram for the prayer, and he started his first takbirah for the sake of Allah. But later on, Riya came. He did not push it away. Kept on until he finished. That part, which is second and third and rak'ah, they were invalidated. The first was not invalidated, but because the first depends upon the second and the third and the fourth, all the prayer is what? Is invalid. Now, talking about the other side, which is ibadah, which is the beginning and the end, they are not depending upon one another. Person is giving charity. He gave £50 for the sake of Allah. Then later on, after 1 minute, 2 minutes, he gave £50 to another person, but because people are looking. That second £50 is not accepted, and the other £50 is what? Accepted. Does that £50, the first one, going to be affected because of the second one? No. Even though they're both charity, but the first one is not relying upon. So the first one is gone into your account. And the second one's gone in vain. It's gone in the pocket of the poor man, but it hasn't gone into your account. You have lost it. Do you understand that now? Now, we come to discussion where Shaykh Ibn brings it about the wudu. So if the person made wudu for the sake of Riya, he made wudu to make Riya. Okay, from the beginning to the end. Does his wudu invalid? Yes, it is invalid. Now he's going to do the prayer. Does his prayer invalid or not? The Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah does not arrive to a conclusion. He said that I have to really as well discuss it here. You see, when we say invalidation, there's two types of invalidation. Invalidation of the act, as in you have to repeat it. Like for example, you have made wudu and you left an arm. Well, you finished. Now, if you have prayed and then you remember that you did not wash the arm, is your prayer accepted? I'm asking, is your prayer accepted? Definitely it's not. Because your wudu is invalid. But a person who has done his wudu, he's a Muslim, and he's doing it for Riya. He had washed everything. Okay? And he finished, and he done the prayer. Question is now, prayer depends upon the wudu. But is the wudu the invalidation of it? Is invalidation to be accepted? Or invalidation as in, is missing a pillar, or missing a condition, or missing invalidation of what? Acceptance. And that is remind us of the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ. He said, he who does come to a soothsayer and ask him not to believe him, then his prayer will be invalid for how many? He said, it's not going to be invalid, it will not be accepted. It will not be accepted. لا تقبل له صلاة. So, what does that mean? For 40 days, should he pray or should he not? Should he? Of course he should. But even he prays his prayer. But do we repeat the prayer? So after 40 days, do we repeat 40 days prayer? So the prayer, the acceptance of it is in terms of what? Reward-wise. But in terms of that you have fulfilled your obligation, it's accepted. Do you understand that? Same thing with the wudu. So the wudu is not accepted. It will remove your sins, but it will not affect your prayer. Do you understand that? And that's what Allah Ta'ala is the correct opinion. And Shaykh Ibn Taymiyyah rahimahullah, he goes on to Hadith Abdullah Mas'ud. I'm not going to keep you for long. I'm going to give you just for another 15 minutes. We'll finish inshallah.
The Prophet ﷺ said, whoever dies while calling upon a rival God other than Allah will enter the fire.
Footnote? Is there a footnote? For that? There isn't? No? Okay, we're going to do it. Allah ibn Mas'ud said, the Prophet ﷺ, he says, he who dies and while he's calling other than Allah. Shirk Akbar or Asghar? Akbar. There's no minor shirk. Goes upon Allah. He had entered the fire. Which fire? Is it the temporary fire or the eternal fire? Eternal fire. Correct. Now, he who calls upon other than Allah, the call is in the ibadah or in the mas'ala. What is the ibadah or the mas'ala? Calling the ibadah like you're praying, fasting to that person other than Allah. Calling for the mas'ala means you're asking him to do something to you. What do you think here? He who calls upon Allah, is it he's praying to him, supplicating to him, or is it to do with mas'ala, asking him for something to do for you? Okay, both, and some of them said ibadah. Right. Both is correct and ibadah is correct. What is meant here directly is the what? The ibadah. But also, the mas'ala goes into it from one angle. What is that angle? What is that direction? Is that if the person asks another person something that person knows no one would do it except for Allah. Like for this person, he says to him, can you bring thunder please? Can you make thunder? You have to make thunder from his backside, but he can't make thunder in the heavens. You could make thunder from his backside. Sufis. You can't make thunder. But you know that the Sufi, they said if the person, their body makes a passing wind, that means a thunder is going to take place. And that is inshallah going to conclude our talk with the story with the Sufis. So I'm just saying that if the person goes to another person asking something that is only can be fulfilled by Allah, then it's major shirk and is included in this one. Cigarettes and all that. It's killing us. Allah understand. You see how much curse and supplication against the one who smokes gets. Look at that. How many people of you have been harmed? See, I can't even breathe. What about me? It's directly to my nose. So how much harm did this? So if that cigarette is not haram, I don't know what is haram. Wallahi, he was drinking alcohol is much better for me. Wallah. You know why? He's not harming me. Still the air is clean, I can't smell anything, but he's polluting the air. And that is why our Shaykh al-Albani, he says it's more haram than the khamr, ya akhi. This cigarette is more haram than the khamr. What is the difference between a person smoking a cigarette or rolling the price of the cigarette, rolling the price of the packet, it's £5, rolling it and set fire to it? What's the difference? I'll tell you the difference. People, when they see somebody put the £5 like this and set fire to it, what a crazy man he is. But when you put the cigarette, he says, oh, prestige. SubhanAllah. But actually the one who's burning the £5 is much healthier because he's not going to breathe it inside. So he's burning the £5. But the other person he's breathing it inside and he's taking his full sort of, I don't know, inhaling. He's on top high, feeling high. Allah understand. Allah, if somebody thinks about it, he would come to terms that this is really so look at how many people have been harmed because of the smell of the cigarettes. May Allah make him to leave the cigarettes. Right. So if the person asks another person who is a physician, please help me to cure this disease. Is this halal or haram? Halal, no problem. But if he said to somebody who is dead, he went to his grave, oh Jilani, oh Badawi, give me help to cure my health. Is that shirk or haram or halal? Shirk. And is it major or minor? Major. Even if you ask him to give you a sweetie, it's shirk major because he can't give you a sweetie. He's dead. He's dead. Because you are making this dead as like equal to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. That's when he talks. Remember that question though. Right. We find, as Shaykh al-Ibrahim, he says, rahimahullah, that we find lots of people from the Muslims who call themselves Muslims, they go to their graveyards. Look at Egypt, how many thousands of people they go there to sit to Zainab and rotate on the grave and ask the grave and Allah al-Musta'an. Right. Here, dakhal al-nar means the eternal hellfire because it's major shirk. Now, Muslim,
Allah's Messenger ﷺ said, whoever meets Allah without associating anything with Him will enter paradise, and whoever meets Him having associated anything with Him will enter the fire.
Look at that. He does not associate, he who had met Allah, associating nothing with Him. Nothing, associating nothing. What is that? Major and minor or just major? Okay, that depends upon what the scholars they say. But we say it is both as we have interpreted. So, if you tell it on the major, it still sounds, he who does not associate anything with him from the major shirk, then he will enter paradise, but it doesn't mean you're not going to be punished in the fire for small sins. That means you're under the will. So enter the paradise eventually. Eventually. And he who does meet Allah, associating with him what? Major shirk. Huh? Major shirk, he will enter the what? Eternal hellfire. That's one interpretation. The other interpretation is, he who does meet Allah, associating nothing, major or minor, then he will enter paradise, but still he might be punished for sins, or maybe not, be pardoned. He's under the will. And he who does associating anything, major or minor, then he will enter the fire. If it is major, then he will be eternal fire. If it is minor, it will be what? Temporary fire. So both explanation is to be correct. If we said the major, you don't need that much details of the major and the minor. But if it's minor and major, you have to explain it as the way I said it just now. Is that understood, everybody? Hopefully understood. Inshallah. Fihi masail. The issues, you've finished, huh? Go on with the footnote.
He ﷺ saying, whoever is general for man and woman, while calling upon a rival god other than Allah, means in worship. and his sallallahu alaihi wasallam saying will enter the fire, this means they will reside in the fire. And Allah says, verily, whoever sets up partners in worship with Allah, then Allah has forbidden paradise for him, and the fire will be his abode. And for the dhalimun, polytheists and wrongdoers, there are no helpers. Surah Ma'idah verse 72. And when it is paradise which is forbidden to such a person, this necessitates that they will reside in the fire forever. Ignorance in this is of two types. The type in which the people have an excuse, and the type in which they have no excuse. So when the ignorance arises from the neglect of learning that which is necessary to learn, then there is no excuse for the person. This applies to issues of...
Is it from Rafiqir or from where is this?
This is footnote of this...
Yeah, but where does it say from where? Number one, what does it say here? Here, number one says where from, please?
Is ignorance consequence of forbiddance? It's not from who, it doesn't say that.
There is enough from the Rafiqir. It's not an hour to read. Doesn't matter. It sounds okay. Alright.
So when the ignorance arises from the neglect of learning that which is necessary to learn, then there is no excuse for the person, and this applies to issues of disbelief and lesser sins. However, when someone's neglect differs from what we have just mentioned, and they are not neglectful of learning that which it is necessary to learn, then it did not cross their mind that such a thing is forbidden, then they are excused. So if they ascribe themselves to Islam, then their ignorance does not harm them or their Islam. And if they are non-Muslims, then they are regarded as disbelievers in this world, but in the next life their affair is for Allah to decide. This is according to the preponderant view that they will be tested. So if they obey, then they will enter paradise, and if they disobey, they will enter the fire. Therefore, based upon this, whoever lives in a far away land, and among them are no scholars, and it did not cross their mind that this thing is forbidden or a matter is compulsory, then they are excused.
Where's from? Okay, this is not from the explanation from here. It's been taken from other explanation, maybe Shaykh al-Uthaymeen. Let me just summarize what you have said.
Footnote of a footnote.
Go on.
This is from Shaykh al-Uthaymeen.
Yeah, but it's not from here. It's in different books, I said.
Is ignorance of the consequence of a forbidden action an excuse? Shaykh ibn Uthaymeen rahimahullah said, if we say that ignorance is an excuse, we are not referring to ignorance of the consequences of this haram action. Rather, we are referring to ignorance of the ruling on this action and whether it is haram or not. Therefore, if a person commits zina and is ignorant of the fact that it is haram, and he does not live in a Muslim country, or he is new in Islam, or he lives in a remote area and does not know that zina is haram, then no had punishment is to be carried out on him in the Muslim country he lives in. But if he knows that zina is haram, but he does not know that the had punishment for it is stoning or lashing and banishment, then the had punishment should still be carried out on him because he has transgressed a sacred limit. Ignorance of the consequences of a haram action is no excuse. Ignorance of whether an action is haram or not is an excuse.
I think I explained that before, didn't I?
Yeah.
And I went through it and I'll explain it again. Basically what he had just said before and what he read after. What he read, because your mind now is fresh with the one he read just at the end. Remember that the excuse is that you don't know the rule of a matter. It's not you don't know what is the punishment of a matter. That's the ignorance that would take into account. So if a person, and he made the zina, let me make alcohol as an example. If a person, he came from Christianity, or he's a Muslim so ignorant, he lives in a land he doesn't know, and he never knew that alcohol is haram. He doesn't know. So he's drinking, he never knew that. And he's been caught red-handed. In Islamic State, the punishment for somebody who drinks is 40 lashes. But because he's ignorant, the judge asked him, he said, how do you know it was haram? Because I came from Christianity. Well, I don't know it's haram, I'm Muslim, but I'm living in the Bedouin areas. Because if he lives in the Muslim people, all the time they talk about khamr is haram, look at him drinking, you should know. You can't, he would be lying, basically. So that will be excuse. But if he said, yeah, I know it's haram, but I didn't know that you get 40 lashes. I thought, you could just put me in prison for one day, or you slap me, or maybe you fine me. Huh? We say, that won't exempt him. He will be lashed 40 lashes. So if it's to do now with the zina, fornication, and adultery. So let's go to Ma'az ibn Malik radiallahu anhu. If Ma'az ibn Malik radiallahu anhu, for example, if Ma'az ibn Malik, he said, I didn't know that zina is haram, would he be stoned to death? No. Now he knew it's haram, and that's why he asked, what should I do? They said to him, well, go to the Prophet, he might purify you. He didn't know the punishment, did he? If he knew the punishment, he would not have gone to the Prophet. Just repented to Allah. He didn't know the punishment. He said, tahirri. He thought he's going to be put in a prison or tell him off. He didn't know the punishment, because that's why as soon as the Prophet said, he said, go away. Second, go away. I said, are you crazy? Something wrong with you? What's wrong with me? What do you want you? And then the fourth time the Prophet, he has to smell him, he was drunk, and then question him, and grill him. You hugged her, maybe you have kissed her. No, more than that. You have and then you have to Prophet ask the word. Did you? The Arabic I can't say it, in English I can't say it. The word is translation of the F word. Did you F her? He said, yes. That's when he put the punishment on him. When he put the punishment, they didn't tie him up, they just put him in front of the companions, and he's waiting for his punishment. As soon as they saw the companions throwing things on him, he ran away. He didn't know the punishment. So that's not an excuse. Remember that companion who came to the Prophet, his name is not mentioned. Messenger of Allah, give me permission to fornicate. Did he know the fornication haram or halal? Did he? If he knows haram, would he ask the Prophet, give me permission to fornicate? So what did the Prophet said? Companions are about to beat him up. How can you ask the Prophet of Allah, can give him permission to fornicate? No, how it is. Do you like it for your mother? No, Messenger of Allah. So people don't like that for their mothers as well. Do you like it for your sister? No way. Well, people don't like them for their sisters. Do you like it for your aunt? No, I don't like it for my aunt. Well, the people don't like it for their aunt. So he's mentioning all these women. So if you don't like it for your maternal aunt, your paternal aunt, your mother, and your sister, and people, you don't like it as well. You don't like it, you don't like it as well. So whatever you're going to fornicate with is going to be the mother or the sister or the maternal aunt, the paternal aunt, or the woman, the man. And then he had refrained from what he had said. So he didn't know. That is what Ibn Uthaymeen had said the first, I've forgotten myself what he said the first. The beginning. What was it? When you said here, footnotes there. Just remind me what you said just the beginning of it.
The
ignorance.
The ignorance of.
I don't know.
So I'm saying whoever is for general for man and woman, and while calling upon rival God means worship. And this saying will enter the fire means he will reside in the fire. And Allah says, verily, whoever this ignorance comes right at the end. Ignorance is of two types: the type in which people have an excuse, and the type in which they have no excuse.
Okay, what's your explanation of that? Well, again, the ignorance here, that we say that even the major shirk is under the ignorance. So the Prophet ﷺ, he said, 4 they will give their alibi before Allah. So that means those 4 what? Are they doing good or bad? Bad. So if they've done good, they're not going to question. They're not going to have their alibi. They're going to be, oh Lord, why are you doing this to us? So if you have a crazy man who was, mashallah, reciting the Quran. Have you heard about a crazy man reciting the Quran? Yes, Allah said he memorized the Quran. One of them, he had memorized the whole Quran. You ask him an ayah, he will tell you what? The remaining. He said it was on TV, on YouTube. If you ask him, what's your name? He doesn't know. Maybe if you ask him, how are you? He says, how are you? Which ayah is this? You start thinking the Quran. Do you understand me? So the person who's examining him is asking him, read from this, he reads. It's like reading from a computer. Read, he reads. And then asking him, how many words, for example, وَلَكِنْ لَا يَعْلَمُونَ. That phrase, how many ayah? He's scanning now. In the Tawbah, and giving the surahs. Then the sheikh, the person who is the examiner, he started talking to the people about how good he is. And that person is listening. Do you know why he's listening? He wants to know what is the ayah he wants to trigger. But there's nothing there in his words. It's just waiting. And then when you mention the ayah, he started. He is mentally handicapped. So this person, is he going to be questioned their resurrection? No. He'll be what? Free in Jannah. Because that a person who is doing shirk, but is mentally disabled. A person who's doing shirk and no people came to him and told him about the Islam. Nobody. He didn't know. Even in this era I'm talking about. Even in this era, there are people, they did not hear about Islam in the right manner. They wanted about Islam, but they gave him for example, the non-Muslim version of it. The enemy's version of it. They will be as well having their alibi with Allah. Oh Lord, we did not hear about your Prophet properly. It's all of it propagandas. We didn't know. The image portrayed for our Prophet Muhammad is a terrorist. So that is why maybe he thinks a terrorist. He never approached that religion. And he himself, he didn't really like his religion. This religion is not right. But he doesn't know which religion, so he's going to be having his test. That's what he was talking about. And his test, Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala will tell them 3 times to throw themselves into the fire. Because he said, I used to send prophets to my people and I'm messenger of myself to you. So they are talking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. And Allah is telling them, go throw yourself into the fire. Let's see if you're going to obey my command or not. The ones who will obey, the ones who will go to paradise. The ones who does not, they will go to the hellfire. Now those people, they will have their mentality back. So the 4 people, one which is a deafened line, he can't hear, can't see, so he can't really learn. Another person who is the one who's fool, people used to hate him. Another person who is old, Islam came to him, he really can't comprehend. Oh, and the 4th person who is mentally handicapped. All of those, they will be tested. Because they will say to the Lord, how can you punish us and we haven't had the opportunity to choose? So the ones who is old now is young, he can understand. The one who did not see any messenger, now is seeing Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala talking to him. The one who is fool is not fool anymore, and the one who is mentally handicapped, he is not mentally, he's got his brain back. So they will give the choice. That's what is the brother's been reciting. Now let me just be finished now, let me just talk about the issues. Issue number 1, sorry about that, I kept you for another 5 minutes extra. That is al-khawfu min ash-shirk, to fear from the shirk. And I said fear is much more impact than abandoning shirk. Al-khawf. When you abandon something, then you could be close to it. But when you say fear, you have to be what? As far as you can from it. A shirk, whether it's major or minor, all together. Second one, Riya min ash-shirk. That is Riya, showing off, whether you're showing off, you make people to hear about you, is part of the shirk. Here the word shirk is what? Shirk akbar or asghar is shirk al-asghar. Because the hadith, the Prophet said, shirk al-asghar. There's the third matter, he says, it is from the shirk al-asghar. Scholars are different. Is it yasir riya or all the type of riya? Is all of the type of the riya, I mean, for example, if a person makes riya in everything, is that called shirk asghar? Wallahu ta'ala a'lam. We can't say it's shirk akbar, but it is definitely more than a shirk asghar. When the person does more, in lots of shirk in lots of things. Wallahu a'lam. Number 4, this is the first, the thing that the Prophet of Allah fears the most upon the salihin. Why the salihin? Because the shirk, the riya comes only to those people who are, doing their ibadah all the time. It's not going to come to a person who hardly does his ibadah. He's not going to do riya, because mostly but the person who does ibadah a lot, that is why it's so difficult for the person to treat his ikhlas, his sincerity. Okay. Number 5, hellfire and paradise are close, and that is in one hadith. Hellfire and paradise in one hadith. If you go do this, paradise, if you slip, you go to the hellfire. Close. And he says number 6, combining them in one hadith. Number 7, he who does meet Allah associating anything, we said major or minor, or it could be the major, he will enter the fire. If it's major, eternal hellfire. If it's minor or major, then if it's a minor, he will be punished and he will not be forgiven as we have chosen, but he will be eventually going to the paradise. And he who had, he says, even if he was from the most worshipping people. Number 8, he said, Al-Mas'alatul Azima, the great matter, which is Al-Khalil, Prophet Ibrahim, asking for himself and his children to be saved and secured against the worshipping of the idols. Al-Asnam, worshipping of the idols. SubhanAllah. So this is, why is Mas'ala Azima? Because Ibrahim, why is it a great matter? If he's himself asking to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala avoid him the shirk, that means we should do more than that. And he says here, number 9, اعتباره بحال الأكثر. He says that Ibrahim alayhi salam, he had asked for this to avoid it because most of the people, they are into shirk. Rabbi, إِنَّهُنَّ أَضْلَلْنَ كَثِيرًا مِنَ النَّاسِ. Oh Lord, they have misguided lots of people. What are they? The asnam, the idols. So the most of the people now, they are going into shirk al-akbar. That was at the time of the author. And now we say, what? More than that. The time of the author, alhamdulillah, they were shirk, but it's been more than that. Number 10, the interpretation of La ilaha illallah. And finally 11, how the virtues of being free from shirk. And by this, we have come to the end of the chapter. And the chapter number 5 will be inshallah next week. If you have any questions regarding what we have heard. If I want to go more details on this, then there will be more than 2 classes in this chapter. But I have to really as well to chuck here and there, because as I said, I don't want to bore people, because some of you, they don't want lots of explanation. So if you have any question regarding what we have heard, or a question regarding the deen, if we have an answer, we give it. Otherwise, we say Allah Ta'ala. Uncle. Okay, Uncle will give you, because you've got the veto. No. If a person, if he's been slandering, backbiting, and he's been told off and reminded, and he keeps doing it, what's the question, Uncle?
How do I deal with that?
How do I deal with him? You keep reminding him, Uncle, keep making him to fear Allah Azza wa Jalla, and tell him about the ahadith that would terrorize him, I would say. From the ahadiths of those people, Prophet Sallallahu said, there will be those people who will be having nails made of copper, scratching their faces and their backs, because they used to say something bad about the other people. Imagine scratching themselves. Okay, so that is a terrorizing sort of scene from the hellfire that would tell him off. And such people, when they backbite and slander, there must be a reason why. It could be the motivation behind it is the envy. It could be that this person envying them. Or it could be, for example, he hates them. Something wrong had happened between them and him. So you would say to the person, instead of backbiting them, just ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala for them to be better than running toward backbiting. And you don't want on the day of resurrection these people to come and take from their hasanat or drop their sayyi'at on you, you'll be dropped in the hellfire. And dua, Uncle, as well, for that person to stop. Okay, that will work inshallah. Follow.
I have 2 questions that are very linked. Basically, with Riya, if that will not be forgiven, does that mean if somebody at any point in their life does one bit of Riya, they're outside of 70,000 people, and they want that question or not, that is sad. The second question.
No. So the question is again.
If somebody does Riya once in their life and it will never be forgiven, does that mean that automatically if they've done it once in their life, they will never be part of 70,000 people?
No. The 70,000 people, they will be including those people who repent to Allah. Well, even though if you repent to Allah, Allah will forgive the shirk. Akbar. What are you talking about? So if somebody, for example, asked for ruqya, and he didn't know, was ignorant, and somebody told him, okay, I don't want to do it again. So Allah will not going to take him from the beginning. He will take him from that point he repented. If the person made tayyub, tashab, which is bringing in omens. Told him it's haram. So he refrained from that. We can't example to the 70,000 and we refrained to Allah. Same thing with Riya. Second question.
What can you give us some tangible steps to help us stop from falling into Riya?
Steps to fall to make us, well, I wouldn't say steps, but because this is, as I said, depends upon which person we're talking about. If I tell you that it is really difficult to treat persons, even for those who are much closer to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala than us, I'm talking about the Salaf al-Salih, whom they have said, أصعب ما عالجت على نفسي الإخلاص. Most thing that I would feel difficult to treat is sincerity. So, alhamdulillah, that gives you a hint that, sometimes you will have some Riya. But the best thing is to do is that to ask Allah Azza wa Jal to help you. Prophet ﷺ, he said that regarding the shirk, he said, أخوف ما أخاف عليكم الشرك الخفي. Things I fear upon you is the hidden shirk. Abu Bakr, he said, Messenger of Allah, isn't it shirk to worship other than Allah? He said, no, Abu Bakr. Narration, may your mother lose you, Abu Bakr. What are you talking about? For verily, the shirk is hidden. Shall I inform you of something that would make you, or keep you away, or save you from major and hidden shirk, minor shirk? Yes, Messenger of Allah. Allahumma. Allahumma inni astaghfiruka. Allahumma inni a'udhu bika an ushrika bika wa ana a'lam. O Lord, I seek refuge in you to make shirk in you while I know. That means, how can I make shirk in you while I know that this is shirk? And then the second part, wa astaghfiruka lima la a'lam. And I seek forgiveness for the shirk that I fall into while I don't know. So, for the Riya, you do the same thing. You ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, oh Lord, I will seek refuge in you to make Riya in you while I know that I'm making Riya. And I seek refuge in you, O Lord, and I seek forgiveness from you, O Lord, for the Riya that I do and without me knowing about it. If you take the medicine of the Prophet ﷺ, like when you pray your sunnah, pray it on your own, not in front of people, then that would keep you treat. Because some people, they really like to pray their sunnah in front of other people. They really like it. And that's not right. That will not help you at all. Also, stop giving alibis to yourself. I'm giving, charity so that people, inshallah, will follow my example. No. Keep it hidden. Okay, let the other people who are maybe more assured than yourself to do that step on you. Because, once you put a £50 note or something, I don't know, maybe something you go to yourself, look, let's just see how much money I pay. If that word is gone, khalas, your £50 is gone. If that word is uttered, what's your question, my dear? Yes, because you remember you got to ask me?
I was going to ask you a question, but you answered it. So
Alhamdulillah.
I was going to ask about it.
Okay, inshallah. Right. Well, guys, we have kept them more than 25 minutes extra. So, further.
Just one expression in Arabic we used to say. They taught us when we were back home. الخوف من الرياء رياء. هل صحيح؟
The fear from the Riya is Riya. That's not really authentic. It's not a correct statement. Because you have to fear the Riya. But to say that I fear the Riya may be something else, to say it. Because you fear the Riya in terms of that it might attack you without you knowing. And when it attacks you, sometimes you do the opposite. You think you satisfied yourself or satisfied Allah. Say for example, you were praying, mashallah, a good prayer, long prayer. Somebody came and approached, he said, if I do it long now, they think it's Riya. Let me do it fast. Do the opposite. Yes. Now the khawf of the Riya, it might get you the masi. But not Riya. It's not Riya. It's not Riya. He's making himself to look what? Rubbish. It's not correct saying. Now the khawf of the Riya like this, in this statement, I would say it makes you into rubbish. It can't be, it's not a statement of scholarship. But I would say, don't make this fear of the Riya to jeopardize or hamper your deeds or your ibadah. As I said, some people pray, mashallah, nicely. When some people come, they don't want to show their ibadah properly. So they've started jeopardizing the prayer. No, they're praying normal prayer. Imagine they're not there. And it's very hard to imagine not there. Very hard to imagine they're not there. But you have to blank your mind, they're not there and I'm doing my ibadah. I'm with Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. Okay? And as I said, it's not really easy. Please, let's just have any. What is the version? No, that's not right. It's not a'udhu, astaghfiruk, I seek forgiveness. That's the correct. Na'am.
Regarding the levels of forgiveness, you mentioned that some people will enter the hellfire, and if they have the minor shirk, they will be punished and they will enter paradise. How do you combine that?
So say that again.
The ayah of Allah does not forgive the shirk or anything lower than that.
Yes.
You mentioned that some people will enter the hellfire and they have minor shirk and they will be punished and enter paradise. How can that be forgiven by being punished?
So the ayah says, Inna Allah la yaghfiru yushraka. Let me just go. Allah does not forgive what is being made shirk to, and He forgives whatever is below that. Yes? Okay. I said, I am now adopting that this is major and minor shirk. Yes? I'm with you. And the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, he who had met Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala associating something with him. Is that the correct hadith?
I meant that if they enter the hell, how can they be purified from the shirk that Allah does not forgive?
No, does not forgive, it doesn't mean that you don't purify. Does not forgive, that means you're going to be punished. And that punishment is purification. Whether it's fire, whether it is hasanat being removed, whether it's being sayyad being increased. Do you understand me? Or
Purification was for the maasi, not for the shirk. If you die, you won't be given that.
listen to me, the maasi, it will not be punished, maybe. See, look, وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ لِمَن يَشَاءُ. He will forgive whatever He likes. That means that whatever is below it is under the mashi'ah. He might forgive, He might what? Punish. Do you understand that? But the other one, it is not under the mashi'ah, it will be punished. That's what it means. But when you be punished, you're going to be forgiven, of course. Because the punishment is a purification. You understand or not? It means the minor shirk, it is not under the mashi'ah. Do you understand the mashi'ah or not, the word? Okay. So the minor shirk is not under the mashi'ah. You will be punished for it. So what is that? What is the thing that makes you? So how, if it's not going to be forgiven, how is it going to go to paradise later on? The main minor. Is that what you understood from me? No, I don't think anybody understood that thing.
No, that's what I understood.
No. Listen. I'm going to repeat what I said. Major shirk will not be forgiven, but you're going to go to the eternal hellfire. Minor shirk will not be forgiven, but you will go eventually to paradise. Now that minor shirk will be either punished in the fire, or be punished by the reduction of hasanat, or be punished by increase of sayyad, or be punished by, you're going to be told off by Allah going to the people who have made Riya to. Whereas the other ones which are below the minor and the major shirk, they could be forgiven from the first time. No punishment whatsoever. You understand or not? Does it click?
How do you make a distinction between the ayah that says the shirk, that doesn't take the major and minor?
Maybe major as well.
How can I make the distinction?
Between the major and the minor, because the ayah says the shirk.
You see, because of the other ayat. إِنَّهُ مَن يُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ فَقَدْ حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ الْجَنَّةِ. The ayah says, he who does shirk with Allah, Allah will make Jannah haram for him. Which shirk now this is?
That's what I thought we thought.
No, ya akhi. I'm talking about this ayah different than that ayah. Not every ayah is the same. إِنَّهُ مَن يُشْرِكْ بِاللَّهِ. You understand me? So here, this one is talks about the major. فَقَدْ حَرَّمَ اللَّهُ عَلَيْهِ الْجَنَّةِ. Jannah is haram for him. Okay, for the minor shirk, it will be punished. And that is why we say it is not going to be like the major shirk, because with the consensus of all scholars, there is no difference among the scholars regarding that the minor shirk will not take you outside the fold of Islam. But the difference of opinion is it under the Mashiach or not under the Mashiach? That's all. There's no difference. So the major shirk, which is Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala in يَجْعَلَ مَعَ اللَّهِ نِدًّا, يَجْعَلُ مَعَ اللَّهِ نِدًّا, to call with Allah somebody else, an rival. That is the major shirk. But what is the minor shirk? Where the person, he would be, for example, that person who had made the Quran recitation to be called a reciter, when he be thrown in the fire, he's not going to be in the eternal hellfire. He's going to be outside the hellfire. He's going to be brought back. And that is the hadith of the Prophet ﷺ, which is أخرجوا من النار من كان في قلبه مثقال حبة خردل من إيمان. Bring out from the hellfire, person who's got iman, that mustard seed of the iman in his heart. They'll bring him out. So, and then the last intercession of Allah, that is أخرجوا من النار من لم يفعل خيرا قط إلا التوحيد. Bring from the hellfire anybody who does not do anything good. That's my intercession of Allah. Except for Tawheed. If you did not do Tawheed, monotheism, and Shirk al-Akbar is the opposite of Tawheed. Okay? So from the other ayat and ahadith, we know that the major shirk will take you outside the hellfire. But the difference of opinion regarding the minor shirk, is it under the Mashiach or not? Majority of the scholars, they say it's under the Mashiach. Under the Mashiach. And this ayah talks about major shirk. But as I said, some of the scholars, they say it is no, it is actually minor and major. In this ayah, but not in every ayah. Because this ayah says, وَيَغْفِرُ مَا دُونَ ذَلِكَ لِمَنْ يَشَاءُ. This ayah has got a link, when he will forgive whatever is below. Whereas the other ayah, he who does shirk with Allah, he will not, paradise is haram for him. وَمَأْوَاهُ النَّارِ. And his abode will be hellfire. That's a major shirk. Okay? And that's a question you should really take a long time, Ya Arfan. You shouldn't really ask it now. Okay, the last question, and that's it.
If you feel good for someone, and you feel good about it,
If you feel good about doing something good, so what should you feel when you do something good?
now after you've done it, they praise you.
Okay, I'm just saying, what should you feel when you do something good? Bad or good?
You should feel good.
Of course.
When you praise you, feel.
No problem. This is inshallah عاجل بشرى المؤمن. What does it mean? Means that this is the glad tidings being given to you beforehand, before the day of resurrection. You were not after the praise, were you? You did it because you were to do it for the sake of Allah. And somebody praised you, MashaAllah, good recitation of the Quran, nice voice, MashaAllah. Now, take it on top of as well the hasanat you're going to get on the day of resurrection. And if you did it from the beginning to get the MashaAllah, then they'll get nothing. Then you'll get nothing. Subhanakallah.